contradictions come together. Okay, so, I'm not going to try to say what he means, because for everyone that's going to mean a different thing. But the interesting part for me is the fear of looking within. Say for the past 500 years, this is paraphrasing Terence McKenna, for the past 500 years we've done everything you can possibly think of, technology-wise, mechanical, changing the face of the earth from, more recently airplanes to, television to, radio, cell phones, computers, and then going to the moon and stuff like that. But, if you ask somebody randomly to look inside themselves and see what's there, are you afraid of things? Are you, what makes you happy and that kind of stuff? People usually get uneasy about doing that. But I think it's very important. So, this goes into actively seeking psychedelic states. Why would anyone actively seek a psychedelic state? What do we need in this world to move us forward into, well, we're in the 21st century, but we're very early on in the 21st century. What do we need to move us through the 21st century? We probably need some new ideas, and I think we can find some new ideas through seeking out psychedelic states. I'm going to paraphrase Terence McKenna again. I thought it was just great. He says, imagine yourself on a boat in the ocean. So now you can imagine the ocean as an ocean of consciousness. You are you're a traveler out on the boat, but you're also a fisherman or fisherwoman trying to catch something to bring back to shore, and shore is like here in this state of consciousness, and the ocean is the pure state of consciousness which you can go to through meditation or through dreaming practices or through actively seeking psychedelic states. So, you're a fisherman on the ocean, you go, you cast your lure out, you catch a fish that's like too big for your boat. If you put it in, you can't even reel it in. It's impossible. If you do, you put it in the boat, your boat's going to sink. Probably let that one go. Cast it out, you catch this little thing that kind of looks like a fish, but you're not sure. Well, okay, let's try for something, a good-sized fish that I can take back and share with people. And that's the idea of what a person should do when they go into psychedelic states, is to try to find medium-sized ideas that can be shared with other people.
Can I ask a question?
We're going to have question and answers afterwards.
Okay.
Write it down.
Okay, I did.
And we're coming up on that soon, so don't worry about it. Terence McKenna likened that small idea that's probably too small as to think, if you stick your finger in your nose, you go, gosh, my finger is just perfect for getting into my nose. What's up with that? Well, that's probably not so important. That's not something that we need to think about a whole lot. So, going to DMT. DMT is deoxymethyltryptamine, and it exists in your body now, in your brain. Not exactly in your brain, next to your brain, in this place called the pineal gland. It's not actually inside of the brain. When you're developing in the womb, it starts as part of the roof of your mouth and migrates up from there, sitting just between the hemispheres of the brain, right up close to the visual centers and all the perceptual centers. It's outside of the blood-brain barrier, so it's not specifically exactly part of the brain, but the pineal gland produces a lot of interesting neurotransmitters, and one of those neurotransmitters is called DMT, deoxymethyltryptamine. It's a relative of serotonin. Serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin is a basic neurotransmitter that tells your body, a lot of different things about your everyday life. Melatonin regulates your sleep states. So, this guy, Dr. Rick Strassman, did a bunch of tests in the 1990s. He wrote a book called DMT, the Spirit Molecule, and, he's talking about DMT could possibly be, DMT would be triggered to be released at night when we go into REM sleep. If you think that your dreams are psychedelic, it's right, because they're fueled by deoxymethyltryptamine. He studied DMT and found it very close to near-death experiences, spiritual, this naturally occurring spiritual states where people think the burning bush is God, and as well as alien abductions, interestingly enough. So, DMT is very interesting. It exists in your brain. It's actually a Schedule I narcotic. If the police wanted to be really picky about it, they could arrest everyone, and then they would have to arrest themselves and the president and everyone on Earth, because we're all carrying Schedule I drugs around us all the time, especially when you sleep. You're producing a lot of it. We could go on and talk about that for a long time, but I'm not going to. I also studied this chemist named Alexander Shulgin. Alexander Shulgin developed many compounds. One of them that you probably know is MDMA, methyl dioxymethamphetamine, if I'm getting that correct. This is where I was studying him and reading this book by Rick Strassman, is where I started to sort of go, oh, so all of these brain compounds are neurotransmitters. They can be synthesized in the laboratory, and when changed, I mean, if you think about chemistry, we all had chemistry class in high school. It's very simple stuff, atoms bond to other atoms using their electrons. Some, molecular compounds cannot bond with other ones because they don't have the free electrons, blah, blah, blah. Chemists can change that and say, I'm going to add a nitrogen or add a phosphorus. So this is what Alexander Shulgin did. He said, let's take something like DMT, and now I'm going to add an extra nitrogen, and let's see what it does. And he tested them on himself and his wife for many years. If you think that's interesting, you think he's crazy, well, he was careful. He said, how much of this should I take? Nobody's ever taken this before. It's a brand new thing. It's new to humans on Earth. You say, well, I'll take the smallest amount that I would think would be active, and then I'll take 1,000th of that, 1,000 times smaller than that, not possibly to be active at all. And then work up from there until either he found that it was active, and he would find things like, well, this one, I've changed it this way, that's very active on sound. This one, I changed it that way, it's very active on visual. This one, changed this way, it's very active on emotional. That's what